What's your preferred boxing guard? If you're not sure, I'm going to help you identify it as well as explain the pros and cons of each style so that you can understand when is the best time to use this particular guard and if it's even the best guard for you. Let's start with the Floyd Mayweather shoulder roll, also known as the Philly shell. And why am I starting with this one? Because this one has gotten so much popularity over the years because of YouTube and obviously Floyd Mayweather's success. And everybody wants to do it, everybody wants to learn it. Because Floyd Mayweather is so elusive, or he was elusive during his career. And a lot of new beginners coming into my gym always ask me about it. A lot of guys, when they start sparring, they forget the fundamentals and they want to slip into that shoulder roll. So what's the benefits of the Floyd Mayweather shoulder roll, the Philly shell? Obviously from here, as you can see, I got a clear vision in front of me. I can see everything that's coming at me, right? So when that right hand comes, I can easily shift my weight and use that shoulder. And what happens is that cross, if that person is orthodox, that cross is gonna come, ricochet out my shoulder and go up that way. So you can change the trajectory of the punch just with that shoulder. Rolling, that's why it's called shoulder roll. Boom. So I'm just gonna shift slightly back shift my weight back onto my rear leg and let that punch come. And if that opponent decides to come back with the hook on this side, I'm just gonna shift back and catch it here. Boom. So here. If the jab comes, I can parry. Parry the one, parry the cross, roll across, catch the three. The body shot, catch down here, to the liver. So it is it's a tight guard. And the benefits is you can see a lot. And it's hard to hit somebody who knows how to do it properly.
He's got to get inside, even though he's lining it up. He has to throw the technique idea to the window and just lower his shoulders and go after Mayweather. Whatever he pays, so what?
It also gives you good balance to come back with counter punches. So some of the counter punches you'll use in the Philly shell is from that shoulder roll. Obviously, look, I'm shifted back here. I can come back with the uppercut and come back with my cross, right? When I catch that hook, if I catch the hook, I can come back with the cross, boom, and then tuck back into that shoulder guard. So it's a very safe, defensive counter-punching boxing stance. The drawback is that you can't be aggressive really with this stance, right? It's more of a counter-punching style or guard, right? So from here, I can't really throw combinations from here. It's more single punches, boom, or roll this way, boom. It's not really it's not meant for aggressive offensive attack, which if you're in amateur boxing, you need to be very aggressive. You gotta throw a lot of punches, a lot of combinations. Why this doesn't work for beginners is because beginners do not understand range, distance that well. So what happens, a lot of guys, when they get into that zone where they think they're superstars or they're experienced enough, what happens is when they're not used to distance and range, they start getting clocked with that right hand. They don't know how to time the right hand properly. And what happens is, while they're waiting for that right hand to come, boom, they take it in the jaw. They don't understand the timing, they don't understand the distance. So sometimes the opponent comes into range and they're here, and they just loop the overhead on top, boom, and they catch them on the jaw. They might roll, but because they don't understand distance, the person just is able to loop that overhand, catch them on the temple and the top of their jaw. So these are the drawbacks, and so I definitely do not recommend the Philly shell for beginners. So the shoulder roll is actually the last defensive guard that I teach when I'm training beginners all the way to fight ready. And once they've mastered the other 4 pillars of defense, I have a video on that, check that out. Then they're ready for this guard because they understand timing, they understand distance, range, and they got good balance. The second guard is actually the first guard that I teach and that all beginners should start with. And this is, I think, consensus amongst boxing coaches from beginning, right? So if you've been watching my videos, you always know that I like to start everything with the proper boxing stance. I'm not gonna go too much into depth because I have so much on that already, but I'm gonna explain again some of the benefits and why it's more important to learn this in the beginning than the other styles or the other guards, right? So from this traditional boxing stance, as you can see, feet shoulder width apart, elbows tucked in, lead hand high. From here, you can actually execute all of your offense and all of your defense really easily and economically, and that's the whole point. right? So let me just demonstrate. The jab, cross, the hook, uppercut, lead uppercut. I'm still in a solid position, right? Always in a technically, fundamentally sound position. I can do anything I want from here. Slipping, rolling, feigning, parrying. I'm always in a solid, tight guard. And this is why this guard is the most efficient and most effective guard out of all the guards. So what are the cons of the traditional boxing guard? The only one I can think of is that everybody starts off with this. But the thing to keep in mind is that everybody doesn't master it. Not everybody goes over and masters the basics. So always go back to the basics, and then you will find the flaws in your opponent if they haven't mastered the basics. The third boxing guard is the more of the amateur style. If you watch elite amateur boxing, those fighters from Kazakhstan and Cuba and other countries like that, elite high-level amateurs, you'll see them drop their hands like this, wide stance with their head moving, and throw their combinations, slipping, rolling, sidestepping, pivoting, check hooking. That style is very, very dynamic, and obviously this is a very advanced form of defense and an advanced form of boxing guard. Definitely not for beginners. Definitely not for most fighters. You have to be super duper quick and have super fast reaction and reflexes. So it is a good style. Now, why is it such a good style that they make work? Is because most fighters are used to seeing punches coming from the traditional stance. The jab, the cross, the hook, always coming down that pathway, that trajectory, right? So what happens if I start throwing punches from over here? Boom, boom. Your nervous system is not wired to recognize that pattern. That's a new pattern. This is why fighters have a hard time dealing with that type of boxing guard. You're not used to seeing punches coming from those angles, right? From this guard. So that's why it can be effective. Some of the downfalls, or the cons of the style is you're wide open. And if you make one mistake, you can be in big trouble.
Really effective. Punching and spinning off the line.
Or if you have somebody who's a really good combination puncher, you can find yourself in trouble because you can't slip combinations for too long, right? Some guys can roll and get away and step out of the way, which is cool, but eventually you will get caught because you're really relying mostly on your footwork and your head movement. The last guard I'm going to talk about is the high guard. And sometimes some people call it a peekaboo. It doesn't always have to be a peekaboo. It could just be the really technical, solid high guard with or without a lot of head movement. But the main thing is you can see my arms are my main defense here.
The Bevo's team this week, they want to be unpredictable with the right hand. They felt Kovalev was too predictable when he tried to throw that. They want to make Canelo thinking about that right hand for most of this fight.
So from here, I can catch every punch. I can block every punch pretty easily, especially with my chin tucked down. I can catch the jab, I can catch the cross or wedge the cross, catch the hook, catch the overhead. I can easily stop those body shots with very minimal movement because I'm really turtled up and very well protected. The downside with that is that the closer we get into range, your view is not the same. It's not like the shoulder roll where I can see everything. Once we're in tight, close range, I can't really see much, and you're mostly relying on your reactions, which is good if you know how to catch and shoot very well. And also, another key thing in terms of your offense, as you can see, I got a long way to go to get to the target. So if we're fighting at the mid-range, my opponent would be able to get off on me first, assuming he has a traditional guard. Because from the jab, you're closer to the target, right? You can use that jab as a range finder. You can use that jab for set up your offense. But from here, it's just a long distance to the target, and it's gonna make your offense a lot harder to execute. I talked about the pros and the cons of each guard and why the traditional boxing stance is the best for beginners and the one that you need to master first before we move on to the other ones. But I didn't mention when and where is the best time to use this guard. There are times when that traditional guard is not appropriate and it's not the right time to use it. For example, if you're in close range in the pocket, your opponent's right on you. You don't want to be in the stance. And this is another big mistake that I see happening in the gym when beginners, again, they're not understanding range and timing. Someone with a little bit more experience or who's more aggressive could be right on them, and they're still in this stance. And obviously, I'm wide open. If somebody's right there on me or on my chest, I'm not properly protected, right? The overhand's gonna hit me. I can get hit with uppercut. If they're a southpaw, that right hook is gonna pop me. So this happens a lot in sparring with these guys. So a traditional stance will not be appropriate in the close range. This is the time when you have to get into that high guard or peekaboo stance, lower your center of gravity, and now you're in a good position to defend yourself. Even though you can't see everything, at least you're not getting clocked with those big shots. And similarly, another time or place that's not appropriate to be in that traditional guard is if you're on the ropes. So first of all, you shouldn't have your back on the ropes to begin with, but it's a fight, anything can happen, and it will happen. So in that scenario, you don't want to be in this stance with your back on the ropes and somebody right on you, because you're going to get clocked and guys get hurt really bad. You go into the high guard or the peekaboo, whatever you want to call it, but the main thing is I'm going to lower my center of gravity. I'm going to tuck my chin in and keep a really tight guard. And at that point, I can fight my way off the ropes or do what I got to do. At least I'm not going to be taking those big shots. So those are two very important instances where you do not want to be in a traditional guard. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you found it beneficial, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay blessed.